Hi. So I'm Willow, the Cambrian crew, and this is going to be a difficult video for me to get through without crying. So please bear with me. Earlier today, someone said that they saw no reason why they or anyone else should sympathize with me for, the abuse and trauma I've gone through because on account of being indigenic, being plural, because I'm indigenic, because my plurality was, as I insist, not the result of trauma, that I was plural before the trauma, because I insist that I don't meet the full criteria for either dissociative identity disorder or any of the other dissociative disorders, or any other disorder for that matter, on account of being plural. And I mostly just want to say that that's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. I went through a lot that I'm still processing, still working through. Things have gotten a lot better, but what I went through was awful stuff, and we trauma survivors need to stick together. We need to be sympathetic and respect each other, no matter our difference of beliefs or opinions on our own origins, as far as plurals go. We need to generally be good people to each other. It doesn't matter, how old you are, how old you were when stuff happened. It doesn't matter, it doesn't even matter how bad it was, because as the saying goes, someone who drowns in 6 inches of water is just as dead as someone who drowns in 6 feet of water. And definitely there for a while I was drowning. I'm very grateful to our partner system who helped pull us out. Several friends, both within the plural community and outside of it. Friends that had to replace a lot of the ones that we lost. Including my ex-husband, who was my best friend for 10 years. So, about 6 years ago, when we were still new to discovering that we were plural, we were, still new to the plural community, still dipping our toes in the water, still figuring out what it meant to be plural for us, making friends in the community, figuring out the terminology, helping coin some of the terminology and get it adopted, and still figuring things out about ourselves, we knew from very early on that there were at least 5 of us, me, as well as Jasmine, who I created or found, depending on which of us you believe, when I was 15, Varen, who she created, Ari and Doc, who the two of them found or created later on. And then learning skills, communication, how to share control of the body that we have. It was all new and exciting and also kind of scary, and it was great to have a community that we could share this stuff with. But it was all only people online. We didn't really have anyone in real life yet that we trusted to come out to. But we felt it was really important. All of us felt it was so important that at some point we tell our husband. And we talked with friends, coming up with a bunch of different ways that we could go about telling him, hey, honey, so, yeah, I'm more than one person. Surprise. And we put it off until eventually we were doing an interview with Laura Clivens, who eventually did the radio show for Reply All that we were in. And at first it was just, over Skype and over the phone, and that was great. And then she wanted to come out and actually meet us face to face, which meant I would have to tell my husband. It's not like we could just go, hey, we're being interviewed for this thing that I can't tell you about, because that would be weird. And I don't think he would have fallen for that. Don't think he would have just let us just not tell him what Laura was interviewing us about. And it's not like we could lie either, because that wouldn't be good. We were pretty we believe pretty strongly in, telling the truth, even when it hurts. And so we had, all these plans. We had worked out several different ways that we could approach the subject. But we kept putting it off, and at one point we were considering just writing it out and leaving a message for him, like, hey, there's a super important thing that I need to talk to you about, but I'm too shy, embarrassed, nervous to tell you face to face, so please read this. But he wasn't really the type to want to read something that I'd written. He always wanted, talk face to face, even though I have, selective mutism under periods of extreme stress and nervousness, which, yeah. So anyways, we were in the car one day, and Laura was coming to visit that next week, and I told my my husband at the time, I told John, so hey, there's this journalist coming out to interview me this next week, and she's really cool. And he was like, well, what's she going to be interviewing you about? And suddenly I just couldn't think of anything. All my ideas and plans, all the things that we had talked about for, weeks about how to broach the subject just flew out of my head. And I was quiet for a moment and I said something along the lines of, well, dissociative identity disorder, right? He was like, yeah. I don't have that, but like that, I do have other people in my head. And that was obviously the wrong thing to have said. We had a 2-hour long argument about how that was impossible. I'd never acted like different people around him. Even though we had definitely switched around him, and even though Willow, had just recently at the time realized that I am actually 4 different people myself: Mama Bear and Baby Bear and Monk and Librarian. And Librarian was the one talking at the time. She was our dominant fronter. And she was the one who was most in love with John. And so we argued, and he didn't believe us, and he was this close to telling us that we couldn't talk to Laura at all. He was very opposed to the idea of me talking to anyone about it, except possibly a psychiatrist. And so anyways, Laura came out. That was great. Laura's an amazing person. She's so brilliant and open-minded and a great interviewer. And she wanted to interview John, but John, of course, refused. Refused to even talk about it to anyone. Things got worse between him and us. He'd been abusive for a while. Verbally abusive. He was very passive aggressive. He'd make really mean jokes and then get mad at me for not laughing at them and getting upset that he made, a joke about hurting people. He'd get mad at me and then give me the silent treatment for like 2 or 3 days. Threatened to take away my stuff like I'm a child. There's a lot of emotional abuse, belittling, trying to control what I couldn't say, what I couldn't read or write or watch on TV. Just generally treating me like a child and not treating me like a partner. Heck, even children shouldn't be treated that way. We ended up going to therapy. We crew went to therapy to try and figure out some way to better talk to him, especially when we'd get really upset and just not be able to talk at all. So, anyways, we were eventually able to get him to come to the therapist with us. And while there, he made it very clear that despite what the therapist and the therapist's supervising psychiatrist had said, we don't have dissociative identity disorder. I mean, we don't have the amnesia, we don't have the distress or dysfunction. And obviously, my ex and I not getting along because of it doesn't count as distress or dysfunction. I mean, he got upset that I had friends who are LGBT. I mean, that was also a source of friction. And there's obviously no disorder called, has friends who are LGBT. This, though, he was insistent that we either had multiple personality disorder, or we were demon possessed. He refused to read any of the stuff about tulpas that I sent him, or linked him to, and instead, in the therapy session, basically read off word for word from memory the first paragraph of the Wikipedia article on tulpas. He had completely the wrong idea about it. Thought we were turning Buddhist. No, we're 3 out of the 5 of us are Christian. 2 of them more Christian than I am. I'm sorry. I was so delighted to discover this part of myself. And I wanted to share it with the person who mattered the most to me in my life. And I couldn't. He was convinced I was either crazy or dangerous. And I found out later from my mother that he was talking to her about trying to get me forcibly institutionalized. She said she talked him out of it, but just the thought that he was thinking about that, despite a therapist and a psychiatrist telling him, no, she doesn't have a disorder. She just has, depression and anxiety, and you need to let her discuss things in her own methods and ways without, pressuring her to physically speak when she's upset, because that's just going to make the mutism worse. It's not fair. I just wanted to share with him, and all he gave me was abuse. The arguing and the silent treatment and the disappearing for days got worse, and it was starting to really badly negatively affect my physical health. My fibromyalgia, and obviously stress makes that much worse. I was spending days where I could barely get myself up out of bed. I would just hurt so badly. I was obviously missing work, and I decided that it would be best for my health if we separated for a while. And just before we separated, he had said, obviously the computer is causing us issues, so I'm just going to take it away for a while and see if that helps patch things up. I was obviously pissed about this, but I agreed. Not like I had any choice. He had already taken it away before he even broached the subject. Took it to his office up at the church where he worked. It was my computer, not his. He had a laptop, and so anyways, we separated. I moved in with a couple who are still friends of ours. And things did not get better. Come to find out, he used my computer to spy on a chat group that I was in with other plurals, and was using that as proof that I was being, what he thought, manipulated into believing that he was abusive. Well, I took a list from a website of, signs of verbal and emotional abuse, took it to one of our therapy sessions, read off the list, and was like, you've done this, you've done that, you've treated me like this, you've treated me like that, you've done this. And he didn't deny doing any of those things. He denied that they were abusive. And I'm like, dude, me, the therapist, we're all in agreement. This expert on types of abuse from this website, on this mental health website, are agreeing that yes, these things are literally abuse. He just brushed it off. No, that's not abuse. That's me being a protective husband. That's me not being physically abusive. He had anger issues, and he said that he gave me the silent treatment because there were times he was so angry that if he did talk, he would have hit me. And he had the guts to tell me that that's not abuse. So anyways, we got divorced. A few months after the divorce, I began living with a friend from the Plural community, a sister with tulpas who, come to find out, also has dissociative identity disorder. So they were good friends and a good part of our healing and recovery. A couple months after that, we moved in another friend who, 6 months after our divorce, we ended up dating, and they're now our partner system. So yeah, the divorce was messy. John tried to refuse to split our assets evenly, particularly our cars. He was like, no, they're both in my name, so they're both mine. And the state I live in, Missouri, is an equal division state when it comes to divorce. So I went back to the lawyer and I'm like, no, he has to give me one. I should have asked for repayment for the computer, because come to find out, he had no plans of ever giving it back to us. Not only did he use it to spy on us, all the while he was saying that he would give it back. Just give him time, he'd give it back. When things got better between us, he'd give it back. No, the abusive jerkface dismantled it and used it for spare parts. I lost artwork that I hadn't backed up. I lost a lot of writing that I hadn't saved anywhere else. Lost a couple of programming projects that I'd been working on. Nothing like huge or massive, but still, the fact that he said he would give it back and he didn't. That not only did he not give it back, he lied, knowing that he had already dismantled it. That really hurt, And then my family. They were not supportive at all. I went from basically being the golden child, the straight A student, the successful career woman, the oldest kid who's got her life together, to being the black sheep of the family that nobody talks about except to be like, don't be like your sister. That hurt. And when I got divorced, I lost no less than 50 friends, at least 20 of which were, good, close friends, because they were all his friends. And he still went to the church that we went to together, that we'd got married in together. Still went to the church where the pastor had a counseling session with me and basically yelled at me that I had multiple personality disorder, and he knew this because he had a degree in counseling. Yes, multiple personality disorder. Here in like 2000, what was that? 2016, 17, something like that. That we got divorced, and even though it hasn't been multiple personality disorder in like 20 years, he reassured me that he could help me get rid of the other people in my head. Even though I very stubbornly insist that that's not going to happen. Not only do I insist that's not going to happen, I know what would happen if I tried. If I tried to get rid of or even in the least way intentionally try to hurt any of my crew. Varen is stronger than I am. He has more than enough strength to kick me out of front, and probably between him and Jasmine would take over our life until such time as Willow, would no longer be a threat, no longer be harmful. And at that point, we would qualify for a diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder. The pastor basically didn't listen to a word I said, kept talking over me, kept ignoring and twisting everything I said, and kept using Bible verses out of context, which really frustrated the hell out of Librarian. We ended up running out of there in tears, running home, throwing ourselves on the bed, crying for the rest of the day. After that, it was just, that was probably one of the most traumatic parts of the whole thing. It's taken us a few years, but we have finally forgiven that pastor for not knowing any better. But it was still really, really painful. But, you know what? In the time since then, we have completely rebuilt our life. We have great apartment, really good job, working a lot better hours, making more money, doing stuff that's not physically demanding and doesn't leave us, hobbling on our cane for the rest of the day afterward. In fact, I haven't used a cane in months. Our friend, the system with dissociative identity disorder, friends, they've moved out. They've now got a great job living on the West Coast, somewhere out there where I wish I was right now. And like I said, our partner system and us, we're doing great. We're slowly rebuilding our friend circle. We've got a couple of other friends who are plural that we live nearby. I say a couple of friends, but they're one system. Several others that are, totally open and accepting and understanding, and have helped us heal so much. And we have a dog. He's sitting on the futon over there. Yeah. She's our emotional support animal, and she's wonderful, and we love her very much. So yeah, that's just the trauma that we've had as a result of being plural. That's not to talk about any of the stuff that happened before. Stuff that happened like when we were a kid, when the stuff that gave us PTSD. Which we've mostly overcome. It's a struggle. There are still definitely some things that are triggers. Being talked over, talked down to, certain physical situations, like being, us being made to feel small and physically threatened. Nausea is still a huge one. Obviously, anything that reminds us of how our ex treated us. Or that pastor. God love him, but he's an idiot when it comes to this sort of thing. I'd love to, I think, sit down with him now and talk with him and see if, we could help him understand how, but I don't think it would happen. Especially since he'd have quite some words to say about us living with our partner system and not being married. Yeah, I don't think that would go over real well. Not married because, he was roommate first. They were roommates first. And I have physical disabilities that if they were to get worse and I have to go on, SSDI, our income would be, basically nothing if I was married compared to, actually almost enough to, more or less pay the bills if we weren't. So right now it's financially the wisest decision. So yeah, being plural and being out sometimes fucking sucks when people don't understand, especially when they're people you care about and really want them to understand, but they just won't. Even worse when they treat you like crap because of it. But you know what? Not everyone's going to understand. And that's okay. Not everyone has to understand. Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Those who understand us are the ones who matter. Those who don't understand us, well, I guess they don't matter. They're not our chosen family. Only the people who do understand, who do accept us as us, are our family, our friends, the ones we care about. Everyone else can go fuck off. So yeah, that's enough for me. Jasmine and Varen have a few words they want to say, so I'm going to, clean up just a little bit and let them say a few things. Hello, this is Varen, and um, yes, this is Varen. I the things that Willow describes are very upsetting to me. People should not treat other people that way. We really hoped that John would understand. We wanted to make him part of our family, part of our crew, to be our partner through life. He was already Willow's partner, but we wanted to be friends too. But he was an idiot. The librarian liked him because she thought he was smart. He was smart. That's true. He was very smart. Just not smart in the right ways. He would get an idea and be very stuck on that idea, which I think was a big part of the problem. He was also slowly becoming, over time, more and more fundamentalist Christian, and we were becoming more and more progressive Christian, or Willow was becoming more and more progressive Christian. Me and Jazz always kind of were from the very beginning. The world that we come from is a world where there are people of all genders and gender identities and sexualities and poly and people who love in all sorts of ways, and these are all loved and accepted as they are. Love is love. Love is the most important thing. And as much as Willow and John loved each other, they could not be together. Because he could not understand how we could be and not be dangerous or harmful in some way. I would like to blame Hollywood. Hollywood has put a lot of very bad ideas about plurality out there. There's water dripping off my nose. It's a very weird feeling. When they were getting separated, he accused us of trying to tear Willow and John apart. I think I find that most offensive of anything else, because I was a staunch supporter of their relationship. I wanted them to succeed. I wanted them to be a family. And because he was stupid, he destroyed that. No, not stupid. He was very smart. He was ignorant, willfully ignorant. He refused to learn the thing that was most important for him to learn. And as a result, he lost us. Lost a treasure that he could never replace. course, he did remarry very, very soon after Willow and John divorced. He remarried sooner than Willow started dating again. He got remarried and had children on the way before she started dating again. There were accusations of us cheating, of us wanting to cheat. It is true. I was, while they were married, in love with one of the members of our partner system. Doesn't mean I wanted to do anything about it. Can't help how I feel, but I can't help what I do. I wanted to do nothing to take apart what was already together. Tomber and I were merely friends. Friends who loved each other, yes. But we weren't going to take it any further than that. It would be wrong to do so. So we firmly believed. So we still firmly believe. John would say things in therapy like, she tells her friends she loves him. That's emotionally cheating. Willow also told John's father, I love you. That is not cheating. That is Willow. Willow tells everyone that she loves, I love you. And Willow loves all her friends and family very deeply. And I love her too because of it. Willow would take her problems and frustrations to her friends and vent and ask for advice, and he also called that emotionally cheating. What are friends for? What are friends for if you can't lean on them when you're, stressed and upset about things? If you can't depend on your friends, then they're not friends. We're doing very good now, though. Very good. I help at work. I help keep the house clean. I have my own friends. I have my own little projects that I'm working on. Willow did not mention it, but she is doing very good on her own projects as well, her writing. We are all together working on a memoir as well. And all together we are doing very well. I am not proud of what we went through, but I am proud that we went through it together and became strong and closer. We're tightly knit together because of it. It is a strange thing to think that fire can burn, but it can also forge. And the fire that we went through may have left some scars. Some scars that may never heal. But they also pulled us all together. We're fighters. Lovers and fighters. And together we are strong. So hello, this is Jasmine, and I'm just going to go right out and say it. John was an asshole who didn't deserve Willow. Wow, my voice seems very faint. I have to get used to that every time. I think I'm going to say that again from the beginning. Okay. So hi, this is Jasmine, and I'm just going to go right out and say it. John is an asshole who didn't deserve Willow. I was definitely the first person Willow told about John. She was so excited when they first got together, when they were first dating, and he was so sweet and charming, but we can look back and see the signs were already there. He was already beginning to push his ideas of, the husband is supposed to be the one who makes all the decisions, and the wife is supposed to be unconditionally supportive, and that's bullshit. It really is. We would have done anything to salvage their relationship. But he'd already broken it. We couldn't even see that. That what he was doing hurt us. Hurt the woman he claimed to love. What really gets me is both him and Willow's parents both made the excuse that it could have been worse, as if that makes it okay. That what they went through was worse, as if that makes it okay. Nothing makes abuse okay. Nothing makes abuse not traumatic. Willow, when you're watching this later, I want you to remember that I love you. I will always be there for you. Always. No matter what anyone else says. No matter what anyone else does. We crew have your back. Always. Jasmine out. Wow, I might keep that last part in there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being. Thank you for understanding.